Hello, welcome back to Rocknrollsailor at Paper Fetish. We're having a soft Sunday. It's raining outside. And with us we got Freek Wallagh. He was at a venue of mine a couple of weeks ago and he dropped in to deliver us some live rock and roll Amsterdam underbelly poetry. So roll it, Sonny.
Well, tonight I want to tell the story of Jacob, a young, innocent boy who came from the good Calvinistic north of our country to our beautiful city to pursue his dream of becoming a punk rocker.
Mm-hmm.
And we start our story when Jacob decided to grab his first beer as a free man. And when he entered the pub, he stopped to ponder if the neon sign was right to say that whiskey makes the heart grow fonder.
Hang on a minute.
Of course.
Get the mic a little closer because I thought you would be louder.
No, I don't like to shout. I'm very soft spoken.
Yes. Okay, go for it.
Right.
The story of Jacob.
And when he entered the pub, he stopped to ponder if the neon sign was right to say that whiskey makes the heart grow fonder. Tattooed trannies tactfully teasing, busty barmaids battling bored bachelors, daring drunkards debating drug use. Jacob clearly wasn't at home anymore. There were things to see, people to adore. So he ordered a beer, slipped a barmaid 10, for that the remainder of this special night he'd not have an empty glass again. Order, shot it, beer, down it, demons, drown it. That seemed the evils in this place where all life's pleasures were enjoyed. Oh, the accomplished human race. Then two older bikers started having a feud on the stools right next to Jacob. I guess one felt misunderstood. And when their debate turned kind of heated, Jacob made a clever call that he should better be elsewhere seated. So he looked around, found a booth filled with the remainder of this damned bar's youth. One guy, around Jacob's age he appeared to be, just like you and me, gently holding his guitar, playing a soft punk melody. And it was in this bar that some of us know just a little too well, where Jacob met Abel. And from strangers, they became friends, and from friends, they became brothers. Interconnected parts of each other's stories. And unbound by a place to stay in his new home, Jacob decided to crash at Abel's place for a while. And life was good. They made some crappy music, enjoyed some crappy beer. And one night, when Jacob wanted to clear his mind, he wasn't sure that he was just about to meet the final piece of the puzzle. For our boys had the balls and they had the talent, but they lacked the inspiration. And he stepped outside Abel's messy apartment, in the dark, walking down the street, canals filled with the smell of weed, drunken Brits wobbling at their feet. Truly the last place you expect to meet. But there she arrives amongst the madness. A passionate heart with eyes with sadness. And when you start to talk, it becomes clear. She was hurt by someone she held dear. And although you try to heal the pain, don't think your attempts won't be in vain. The whores in red, they look and grin. Because of this battle, they know you can't win. Yet still you try, a desperate man, until you have to do it all over again. So you say you don't mind taking things slow. Your ego is crashing, how low can it go? You plead, you beg, you wish and you pray. But deep down you know, there's no fucking way that she will move on and finally stay. It was here that Jacob met his own Cassandra, his own Helen to his Paris, his Courtney to his Kurt. And again, life was good, and our three amigos spent some beautiful evenings together. So if you would all allow me to skip ahead in the story to a random night. And it's a humid night in which we find Mokum, with banks of mist so thick you could stroke him, the city undone of Ra's fatherly protection, its sons left with no sense of direction. And we find our good friends in Abel's apartment, and oh, the ceiling looks so pretty as their minds just melt away. Guess it's another Sunday in the city. Look into their eyes and you would see they took 2 sugars with their tea, They are taken by Lucy's flow, talk about art, life, and the band. Feels like they're waiting for Godot as reality turns into pillars of sand. Smoky blues emits from the music player as they decipher Howling Wolf's work, trying to find an extra layer. Jacob sings, Abel plays along, trying to craft their next hit song about losing sense of right and wrong and Jesus being Allah, being Mao Zedong. Nobody got it, but here's the catch. Because there was nothing to be understood, except for sense of love and senseless joy, and the fact that life is fucking good. It couldn't stay this way. And at one dreadful night, a brotherly murder did appear, and Jacob had to watch his muse leave for the horizon, with who he thought was his brother. And Jacob was left in Amsterdam, all on his own, still writing his crappy songs for slightly bigger audiences, for slightly bigger fees, and slightly larger drinks. And it was times like these, where he was battling his own insanity, where he thinks back of earlier days, more simpler days, when he was awoken by his granny, a mighty Artemis indeed. Before the crazy days filled with sweet regrets and speech, he talks about his Opa, the one that was her own, preaches Buddha and forgiveness, and about the great unknown. Yes, those were the days when everything was clear, filled with unicorns and sweets and people I held dear. He hasn't reached his 30s yet, but now the end feels near. Down comes Herman Brood, that take me out of here. Monkeys and zebras passing by in my mind while I'm getting high because of these substances so taboo. Like those parrots I can fly, now that my mind became a zoo. So Kurt Cobain is buried, and rock and roll is dead. So you try to keep your senses, but you lose your mind instead. Those monkeys, they start singing, ask if you want some bread. Buttered with sweet dreams was such a splendid spread. You can still find Jacob. I believe he's hanging in there. But for Jacob, for you, for me, it's clear to see in Mokum you don't pick your destiny. Jacob was devoured by his fate. But although it's quite a tumultuous one, it's also one I'd never trade. Thank you all very much.
Yep. Excellent.
Well, thank you very much. I always enjoy doing this set, although my throat doesn't seem to agree.
Yeah, no, it's sort of like, it's a rainy, sunny Sunday. We had, a bit of clothes swap, and we had Julian coming in, doing some really nice guitar. But the Wi-Fi was off, and we didn't live stream that, but I recorded it. I'll broadcast it later in the week, probably.
I could do one piece, by the way. I haven't performed on stage yet, but I just finished writing it.
You want to do it?
Yeah, sure. As a little premiere.
Excellent, go for it.
Let me talk of my granddad, an Amsterdammer named Boy, who was well on his way to not only destroy his very own liver, but his family's joy. A journalist marching to his own drum, starting his mornings with a glass full of rum, fleeing his demons, nothing too far, either Cuba or London or the USSR. And then he slept with the locals, and all that remained were both his marriage and jacket stained. And after all the hours he'd flown, when he came back to the city that he calls his own, his addictions were still drowning him. Because we all know in rum you can't swim. Now that his life will come to an end, we'll have to learn and understand all the struggles through which he went. Because Boy had his demons, and fuck do I have mine. But I hope to be the Wallagh will actually be fine, while still enjoying both women and wine.
Nice one. That's a nice one. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, I thought, I kind of wanted to experiment a bit. To me, growing up, the most Amsterdam person I knew was my grandfather. He lived through the tumultuous 70s and 60s in the artistic elite here. So he has lived life in glorious throttle, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wanted to do a little piece about him and his influence on me and his influence on the city and vice versa.
Yeah, sure. Really. Can you elaborate a bit on because the name rings a big bell, but
Boy.
Can you elaborate a bit on the
on who he was.
Yeah.
Who he is. He worked for the AD, for the newspaper. He was a journalist interviewing directors, movie stars, specialized in movies and television in the early days. So he traveled all around the world interviewing them, got some amazing stories out of it. My favorite one is one with Orson Welles, who, as you all know, was a raging alcoholic. And he was shooting this movie over in Paris. And the director and the director's wife really wants to keep him there because they knew once we get Orson off the set, he starts drinking and then we have to delay the shoot for
no, they're fucked. Yeah, obviously.
So Orson, the clever man as he was, said, well, yeah, I mean, I'll come back straight away. But I got this one interview with this Dutch journalist. My granddad. Okay,
so your granddad was Orson's excuse to get out of there and hit the bottle for a couple of weeks, or what?
They met, this interview in this Paris bar, finished within half an hour, and then the entire night was just them hopping from bar to bar, being chased by the director's wife.
Yeah, pretty much any time she almost figured out where they were.
Yeah,
like, okay, let's go hit the next one.
He kept asking her around, and everybody knew Orson Welles, so they was like, he was here, but I have no clue where the guy left.
It
was I can always just picture it. It was beautiful.
Yeah, of course. And it's so freaking symbolic, you know.
I love the story when I was growing up.
Yeah, of course, definitely. That's a nice one. One of my uncles was a reporter as well.
Really?
Yeah, he was one of the first investigative reporters. Like straight after the war, he was like taking rides with because the border between Holland and Belgium at that time was a smuggle zone like crazy. You know, they were smuggling Geneva from Belgium to Holland and then butter from Holland to Belgium. You know. And he actually
feels like we got a better end of the deal.
Well, you know, but he actually went with the smugglers to be able to report firsthand, which is something you know. I mean,
and we're talking about the pre-Gonzo era here.
Yeah, well, yeah. This is what 49, 1950. You know, he was
ahead of his time.
Yeah, way ahead of his time. But then he went with the smugglers. Did a few trips with them, you know, and got to take pictures of it because these guys, they had like these wooden boxes behind the back wheels with crow feet. You know what crow feet are, right? These hooks, triangles, so that when they fall out, there's always a pin sticking up. So they had these boxes with like rope release sitting behind their back wheels in case the cops came too close. They would just open the boxes, all the crow feet on the ground, bam, you know, just cut their tires and fuck it, you know.
That's some movie shit.
Of course, but that is, you know, that's way before, you know, decent radio control and this and that and the other, you know. I mean,
it's a cool story, man.
Yeah, of course, you know. But then a couple of weeks afterwards, he went with the cops to be able to report on their side of the story. You know what I mean? It's just like.
So that's journalism.
That's cool. Yeah, and he released, as far as I can research, he released pretty much the first book ever on doping in cycling, professional cycling sport. In the in 64 or 65 or something. It was somewhere in the 60s that he published that.
At least ridiculously early.
Yeah, very ridiculously early, and he got quite a lot of fucking. A lot of wind and threats and this and that over it as well, because it's basically, you know, you had guys in that day. I've you know, read parts of it, and you actually have guys in that day that they dropped dead on their bicycle from overdosing on this or that or another stimulant, you know. So no, a great picture archive as well. And I was reading into one book that he's written. That has never been published. Like within half a page, my neck hair just. Of course. You know, I mean, he sadly died in like early '80s, so you know. But the moment I saw his, I just so fucking recognizable. You know, the same like dry humor in a lot of ways, the sarcasm, the way of just because it's a book about his youth during World War II. I wanna edit the fucker. I wanna publish it.
Yeah.
It's so fucking good.
Pay some homage to it.
It's just so fucking good. It's amazing.
What's it about?
Well, basically, he really he gives that cross cut of the era. So what happens with the bombings and this and that and the other.
But it's more a personal story or more
telling
the time and then his
he gives it from his perspective as like a 13, 14, 15-year-old intelligent, observant guy that is just sort of like looking at the world and describing what the fuck he sees, including the pastor who's got like 3 kinds of Geneva, and the better they are, the farther they're stashed and stuff like, you know what I mean? It's just like the dryness of it, the let's just cut through the fucking sore of hypocrisy and see where, let's check the color of the pus, but really strong writing, like absolutely freaking phenomenal.
But I mean, the era lends it for. I mean, dry humor does seem, to me at least, always lose a bit of its power when it's used in a very happy, go-lucky situation. I mean, talking about dark eras and then applying that sense of dry humor just elevates.
Well, yeah, of course, but that's where dry humor comes from, basically. Dry humor is used to drain the swamp.
Yeah, but you should have told Jerry Seinfeld that. You should tell Jerry Seinfeld that.
Well, have fun with it. I'm not into American TV.
I would have guessed.
Bastard. I mean, George Carlin, yes, but.
Yeah, I know the guy. I'm a big Lenny Bruce fanatic. Still love his work. Who, to me, is both as American as it gets and as un-American as it gets.
Yep.
He has this one amazing set just after he got arrested for like the 20th time for using the word cocksucker. And then he does this enormous set just solely based around that particular word without using it once. And everybody in the audience knew what he meant.
Yeah, of course.
And his point of critique was, well, yeah, I got arrested for using the C word because they said it was gay language or something like that. It really, I mean, back when that was still, a homophobic law. They said, well, I mean, every policeman who thinks that the C word is just for gays has a very shitty marriage.
Well, obviously, Okay. Well, that was my book.
I to ask you what time it is.
What time is it? We are running up to 6:05.
Oh, perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah, I need to be somewhere around 7.
Oh, excellent! I'm closing up at 7 as well because I've got a Dutch story to do at Miserab tonight.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's the second time that I have a Dutch story there to do. First time went all over the place and not really where I wanted to take it. You have that sometimes when you're doing stuff on stage and you sort of feel like every time you go slightly below the surface, you just have to go way back up because the audience just cannot handle it. Yeah. That's sort of the feeling I had the first time. So today I'm going to take it.
I usually don't. I get what you mean. I do experience that from time to time, but I didn't necessarily have that problem at Measure-Up. I think a lot of people there, especially on the nights, which have a slightly bigger crowd, there are so many people there who kind of aren't expecting. Yeah, but for
the Dutch storytelling night, it's I'm curious to see what it's going to be. Because last time there was only like I don't know 20, 25 people or something, and they were all pretty straight. Yeah,
No, I do prefer my audience slightly bent. That's true.
Well, yeah. If you get a bit of dent in their straightness, it's always a bit.
Takes time, effort, and a lot of patience.
Master disaster without provoking it. Breathless love without choking it. Shore rush, shore rush, retracting seas, the relentless traveling oceans. How futile our control. The water brings us to the basics, stay afloat and learn to roam. The boat at anchor, swaying port to starboard, slowly back, till the full shift of the tide swings your direction. Invasion from Mars, preemptive attack. We vilify the mirror, knowing its fragility, yet cut our wrists with the shards all the same. Mortifying perfection in an arbitrary scope. Scoop shooby-woo. Diversify your addictions, die a little every day. We count the nights, 'cause days are with our danger. We don't want the impossible. We just need it. That's all.
Well, cheers to that. I got one. It's one of your work I know a little bit better, but I really like this one.
Yeah.
I think I would say it's a bit more playful than some of your other work. Sometimes it's a bit, you like to go into the grittiness a bit and a bit into the insane in the most beautiful sense of the word. I feel like this is a bit...
Insane. You need insanity to balance out your sanity, because otherwise you really go crazy, you know.
And I do agree, but I feel like this is light in a pleasant sense, kind of to balance out some of your heavier work. Despite the subject matter.
Yeah.
Like a fully armed rabbit.
Yeah, no, I mean, basically, the moment you face, the moment actually, that the difference between light and dark is whether you see the light wave coming towards you or from the side. When it comes towards you, you see it as light. When it's going that way, apparently it's dark because you don't see the. So it's kind of weird, isn't it? It's like I used to say about traffic lights. It's always green. Traffic light is always green. It just depends how you look at it.
Please do elaborate. You mean there's always a green slot, whether it's lit up or not, or?
No, I mean traffic lights are always green. Depending on which angle you take on them,
Oh.
It's either green on that side or green. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, the collective of traffic lights. Yes.
Exactly. So you do a lot of journalism?
A lot of more and more, I'd say. I just really like what always appealed to me reading Gonzo stuff, which is one of my big influences. I love the fact
that lovely Hunter. Yes.
Oh, Hunter is amazing. Hell's Angels, I read that shit 5 times. I mean, and what I love about Gonzo is that it doesn't fade away from telling a story as accurately as they can, but they are telling a story, and I feel like it's the only proper way to really feel what a reporter is writing about. So I always try to kind of balance between telling the story and telling a message which I'm kind of trying to get across, which might not necessarily be about one particular person, but more about a collective of people. And I turn it into a story of one individual or one evening.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it really lends itself to be used as an example for a bigger whole. And I think Gonzo really guided me in that direction of how can you tell a story from just one person's perspective when you kind of want to describe the entire world.
Well, yeah, that's basically what you got to do. It's just.
I feel like that's a very beautiful thing to try to achieve in writing. And I use that when I'm
but I reckon like stop trying and just do it. You know what I mean? Stop trying to infuse it with a certain morale, because every story you look at and experience just oozes it by itself already. You don't have to.
Of course, with practice.
You don't have to instill it into it. You just have to be observant enough to.
Yeah, but that take practice
to have it in there. Yeah, it's a sort of practice of observation more than anything. It's much less of a purpose, actually.
Yeah, but now
it's sort of a consequence of actually writing down what you're experiencing.
Yeah, but that does require a different way of looking at your story. If I were to go in there and I were to do it just as plain and as straightforward as journalism can get, I cannot turn that into a console-like story later. You kind of have to go in there thinking, all right, I'm going to try to experience as much as I can. And that, of course, takes practice and effort.
Of course, but that's the whole point of life, isn't it? I mean, there's the most obvious richness is richness in experience. It's like, whether you got money or not, it's how much attention you pay. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, I do. Yeah, we agree on that particular issue, which I think you would have guessed. So
Well, yeah, of course. It's basically, I find it's like you can watch movies or you can be aware and get your own life up to movie level. And that's the only difference that takes is a bit of audacity, a sense of adventure. Stop defining yourself by the past and just, allow everything to be interesting and take the option that's the least obvious.
I always say what doesn't kill you makes for a good story. Which I do believe...
what kills you can make for an excellent story as well. It's
just not yours.
It's a bit harder to write it down,
I think you would find a way.
That's the whole thing, I mean, that's kind of,
Do you feel like a smoke, perhaps? I feel like a smoke.
Yeah. Shall we have a nicotine break? Yeah, excellent.
Right.
Nicotine break.
So I never performed the piece about my grandfather in front of an audience.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have any boundaries when I'm on stage. I kind of like just letting those go, but for some reason it never felt right for what on stage.
Yeah, of course. No, it's those kind of things where if you do it and it comes across like it's a
or tearjerker. I mean, there's so many ways to go wrong. Perhaps that's it.
No, it's got to fit in the thing,
I met the biggest bitch at the event opening yesterday. Anna, ironically enough, she does only paint dogs, which I found. She paints dogs. Well, all her statues are animals, and a lot of them are pooping dogs, which I think couldn't be more telling about her as a person.
Puking dogs.
Pooping. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. And at some point, I was talking to this group, and she looks at me and says, "All right." I asked her, "You want a drink?" Yeah, sure. I mean, all right, I want some prosecco, and if it isn't there, it's down in the back of the storage. So I told her, well, I haven't received my paycheck yet. Which she immediately said a big fake smile, like these red painted lips, and and then you could see the smile fading away from her face for like a millisecond. And her eyes just killed me. The entire night was just her trying to get attention for pooping dog statues. There was another artist painter who was very talented, but he kind of didn't seek the spotlight as much, which I thought was a shame because his work was actually way more interesting.
Yeah, that's the thing, Usually when the work is interesting, the artist is interested in his work. Not
it's a very interesting individual.
Not an intention for himself. Yes, but you know how interesting people usually are very factually interesting, and that's just part of what keeps them interesting.
Yeah. Very lovely guy.
That's sort of how that pans out usually.
Oh, I also met this painter who was kind of his protege, so to speak. At least I believe that was kind of the relationship they seemed to be having. Bless you. And she does this, and she's now going to start one of her biggest pieces yet. It's an enormous white wall, and she's going to paint over it with Chinese ink. And it's going to be focusing around eyes. Yeah, we're going to use it at one of the underbelly events.
Do you have a number?
I got her on Instagram.
Can you send her messages and encourage her to film as much of the process as possible?
She's going to do that. Yeah, she's going to turn it into small documentary kind of pieces while we're making it. And it's going to take weeks to finish the piece, so months, I'd say. So it's going to be an entire wall with ink, just tiny drawings. That's going to take.
That can go extremely fast. Usually people that work like that, they work 15 hours non-stop. You'll be surprised how fast that can go.
And I can't emphasize. I kind of always say if I weren't as crap at math, I would have become an architect. So I walked into this space and I immediately fell in love with the huge.
You sold it. It's okay.
Oh, I didn't try to sell it. I'm just kind of still impressed.
It's sold. I'm looking for a gallery that you can work in.
I think I could I'll send it out a net. I think he's very fucking busy, at least this weekend. Because the guy is basically running the entire place on his own. And there are some committees involved which decide which events are going to be held, which gallery or artists will be in the gallery. But he all has to direct that and make contacts and whatnot.
Yeah. I How about you get in front of the camera and do a piece while I go take a shit?
Sorry?
You get in front and do another piece while I go take a crap.
I do also need.
Oh, well, then we'll have to wait.
Alright guys, well the Rocknrollsailor is working on some private business. I kind of want to ask some of you guys, and I don't know how many are watching, but I'm working on a piece which I kind of want to turn a bit more collective. It's called A Girl Named Faith, and it's about the similarities between putting your entire sanity and faith into either another person or a religion or something, or an idea of sorts. And all I got so far is 2 starting lines. Johnny Cash once told me to reach out and touch faith. Now I can feel the fucker grinning from his front row seat at the grave. And I don't know how many will see this, but I'm at Freek Wallagh at Instagram. And please do send me a message, share some of your experiences. I really want to turn this into a big, beautiful piece with all sorts of characters from Amsterdam working together. So do contact me on that. And maybe we can work together on that. This is Freek Wallagh from Paper Fetish. I don't have anything to tell anymore, and I was always raised with the proper belief that if you don't have anything sane to tell or useful to tell, you shouldn't talk at all, which I think double acts for me as a writer and a poet. So last, perhaps, little commercialization, I do check me out at Checkpoint Charlie from time to time. Follow me on Instagram, and we can stay updated and we can work together. And do keep a close eye to Underbelly, organizing major big events with drag queens and musicians and acrobats, artists, painters all across the city, guerrilla style. And I hope to see you there. That's all. Thank you very much, and good night.